And we are back with the Game of Thrones podcast. I'm your host, Carmine of Red Team Review, and I'm joined here once again by Preston, Gilligan, Ulysses, Jacobs. Hope that's...
Whoop, 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 whoop.
And we're joined here by special guest from Destiny 2 YouTube channel, Dark Side Royalty Lore, my buddy Joker, Joker, how long have I known you? I've known you for a couple of years now, right?
Geez, 2018? Into 2018?
No, I've known you for 4 fucking... Are you serious?
Yeah, Finn was the Not Forgotten and Luna's Howl and all that a thing. Because that's how we met. We met on Twitter and we talked back and forth. And then we were like playing through Crucible or something. And we're like, hey, let's go get these Pinnacle weapons.
Yeah, I know, like Preston knows. I know like the most like randomest people. I don't mess with anybody in the Thrones community. I just know people in like every other community ever, and that's it. And damn, I've known you for that long. And of course, it's taken us this long to do a collaboration. I'm sorry, but I know you're a huge Ice and Fire fan. So
now, Joker, when people say that when you tell people that you like focus on Destiny, do people get confused on which Destiny you're talking about?
No,
or do they kind of know?
No,
okay.
there's the YouTuber streamer Destiny who does political stuff and commentary.
Yeah,
I've known about him, right? Because like you talk about Destiny, obviously, occasionally that's gonna like, wait, you cover Destiny, the creator of the game, but generally most people are the game.
Okay. Wow. Okay. That's very funny to think about like different circles and what words like immediately. I feel like in the regular world, away from computers and gaming and YouTube, where real people live, if you said, "Oh, I have a YouTube channel about Destiny 2," you'd get probably a blank stare. Like, what do you mean? Like where mankind will go? Like our fate? like what do you mean?
Dude,
Like
no,
Destiny?
I mean, like our fate was so great as mankind that in fact the CEO of existence made Destiny 2.
But no, Joker, thank you so much for joining us. Guys, as always, we're available on SoundCloud and iTunes. Consider checking us out on those platforms. And if you do, please leave us a review. It helps out a lot. And of course, leave your comments down below. We might cover them in a next episode. Okay, we're here to talk about Episode 5, House of Lay Dragoon. I am so friggin' annoyed because I'm always surprised when you watch my review, Preston, because we were talking about this before we started recording. I liked the majority of the episode. I only had a problem with the very beginning and the very end. And apparently that's not enough for people. They're like, bro, why did you hate it? I didn't. I know. I like 85% of the show.
Story of my life. I know.
But this is the whole thing about criticism and how people really focus on bad things. And as I say, this is a reverse shit sandwich where like the outside, the bread is made of shit, and like the middle is a really tasty sandwich. But what do you do about that beginning and ending? Ugh.
Yeah, this is still gonna leave a bad taste in your mouth. I mean, you still, at the end of the day, it's like the dick salad, bro. It's like, okay, yeah, I could eat around the dick, sure, but there's still a dick in my salad.
Right, there's still a dick in your salad, and it's gonna get on the other leaves, like, you know, and the tomato. Yeah, it's
some people like the taste of dick salad. I particularly, though, it's not my favorite meal.
I tweeted out, my mother watches the show, and I like using my mother because she's a casual. Like, she doesn't really watch my stuff. She's seen Game of Thrones. She really loved Game of Thrones. But, you know, I like to hear what casuals kind of think. And my mother is like the perfect casual because she like forgets characters. She's just like, and who is that? Like, she's literally asked me around like season 5 or 6 of Game of Thrones. She was confusing Ramsay and Theon as characters. And like didn't know which was which. And I was like, how is that? She thought they looked the same. So like, it's great. But like, so my mother texts me and it's like, I don't understand how Crispin was not arrested. Can you explain that to me? And you know, like she really thought she was missing something. And it was also hilarious that she really called him Crispin.
But Joker, what did you think of the episode?
What did I think? Okay, so it has kind of the same problem I think Game of Thrones, or not Game of Thrones, but House of the Dragon will have until the end. They are trucking it through material.
Yeah.
So you have like all this really dense character drama, and there's no decompression. Whereas like even in like Game of Thrones, where it would be like a heavy dark scene, I like to go back to what was it, when Hound and Arya were at the crossroads, and he's like, "You're gonna fight us for a chicken? You're gonna kill us for a chicken?" And he's like, "Yeah," and then he like kills everybody in the room.
Yeah, it's true. And I'm even looking for smaller things for comic relief. Just seeing the oddness of Larry Strong and how he's just funny looking is somehow like welcome comic relief for me. I'm talking about his face. I'm not talking about him being a clubfoot. He just kind of.
Is he really clubfoot? I mean, the actor's not. So now we get into, was he?
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. I mean, this is the whole like, is Laris cheese? Is he faking the whole thing? Is he going to Kaiser Soul say us?
I think they're going to have him be cheese.
I mean, I hope so. I think that's a great,
so they had at the end
idea.
of the episode, they have the blood, right? And then you have the rat walk right up to it. And I'm like, blood rat. Oh, that's subtle.
That's not subtle. That's not subtle at all.
I mean, I do like what they're doing with so many of the characters, especially Rhaenyra and Alicent, who in the source material I didn't even like very much, and they've made them such fascinating characters, and the actors are doing such a great job with it. I love Alicent's hypocrisy and how she, even if Alicent may have done shady things, and Alicent's done shady things, but did she sleep with Viserys before they were married? In my headcanon, she slept with Viserys before they were married, and then she's going to turn around and judge Rhaenyra for having sex out of wedlock. And
she
be a
would
hypocrite.
justify it to herself, though, because being that kind of hypocrite, she's like, well, I married him and I did what my father told me to do.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But still, even if she, even if it weren't that situation, we all know these hypocrites in life, these people that project their morality on everybody but themselves, and I can even deal with Criston Cole, being like that. I wish they spent a little more time on Criston Cole exploring his feelings.
He folds like a chair.
Yeah. He and then all of a sudden is like, oh, I really care about honor. Do you, dude? Since when?
Yeah,
since 2 seconds ago.
That could have been a way more interesting scene back then, because if you watch the after the show, they're like, oh, this is this horrible abusive thing, and it actually, your uncle taking you to a brothel to bang you. Yeah, that is definitely horrible and abusive. Maybe not for Targaryens because she was into it, but if that's the message you're trying to convey, you probably didn't do it right. She goes home and she's like, well, I'm still wound up, which after that walk, okay. So let me press my bodyguard into service, I guess you'd say. And it's actually that power dynamic, what does he do? You do it or you die.
This brings, by the way, I want to go on a little tangent right now, because I want to talk about, Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky.
Okay.
And just for a second. But at the time, and I'm old enough to remember Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky.
I kind of remember this. Yeah.
At the time, Bill Clinton portrayed Monica Lewinsky as this thing that was tempting him, and then he just kind of succumbed to it, and he shouldn't have, and he broke his marriage vows, and that's how he portrayed the whole thing, that he was this temptation dangled in front of him. And then, now that it's been 20 years later, with Me Too and everything, I think the public zeitgeist kind of portrays it as Bill Clinton was abusing his position of power. He was her boss many, many, many levels up. It was inappropriate of him to be using his work position, his vocational position, to, pressure somebody into sex. What's very funny is I've read interviews with Monica Lewinsky, and she's very angry at everybody because she's just no, it was just a fucking relationship, okay? I hate how everybody's portrayed this thing I wasn't something that was just tempting him, right? And I wasn't somebody being abused. We were just in a relationship. Can it just be a fucking relationship?
I feel that.
We were equals. Now, and I mentioned this to my wife, and she's like, yeah, but at the same time, we all justify things in our mind. It probably is all of those things. But in her mind, does she want to be seen as the victim who was being abused, and does she want to be seen as the temptress? No, she wants to be seen as a person, because everybody wants to be seen as a person. And so I was thinking about Criston Cole. Was he pressured into having sex? I don't know. Was he tempted? I don't know. In his mind, he's going to create the narrative. And in his narrative, they're two young people in love, and they're going to run off together. Which is
why his House of Cards falls down and he becomes her most bitter rival. Yes, I like it.
Oh, so I do think it works. I wish they spent more time on it. We're halfway through the season, and I wish this were the end of the season. I wish they spent 10 episodes on all of this instead of 5.
If you spend 10 episodes on this entire season, it's just going to be all filler. It really is. Because a lot of the season so far has been filler. A lot of the stuff was was not in the books, like the White Stag stuff. When you do so much filler, you run the risk of it souring the rest of the season. I do agree with you. If anything, I'd say there should be one more episode.
Like, you know my idea. Like, we needed some
Lyseni character.
Starks, Lyseni, Starks, Lyseni characters, move around the map. And then...
we also know that there's going to be more characters kind of involved in the dance proper when they go out and basically call their banners for each side. So they could have, there's trouble boiling with the succession. Let's see what the other sides that are going to help are going to do.
I mean, apparently Jason fucking Lannister is going to be a huge...
Poor guy.
They spent a lot of time introducing Baratheon, and they spent a lot of time introducing Jason Lannister. So I guess they're going to be really important during the dance. So... I mean, certainly we know about Baratheon at Storm's End and the incident there, but
no, you got on Criston Cole's case because he has like a twisted sense of morals, and you always mention like the sucker flail. Like, okay, fine, but like it doesn't stop it from being like his moral code. This is what I said in my review. You know, like Westeros society is different.
Everybody's the protagonist of their own movie. So like in his mind, he's moral and he has a moral code and whatever. I don't know what the fuck it is. It doesn't make any sense to me, but I get that in his mind he believes that.
It's kind of the Jaime thing, right? Where he hasn't quite hit the Mad King made me do it. He's getting there. He's like, well, I'm this awesome swordsman. I'm this virtuous knight, never done anything wrong in my life. And then I've just been thrust into this realm and this sphere that I wasn't born into. I wasn't raised for. I was taught how to deal with or navigate. And the sharks are eating him alive.
Yeah. But I do think we needed twice as many. We needed twice as many Criston Cole scenes. You know,
we did to establish that. I'll say this though, because you always bring the sucker flail. Would you agree with me that was before he became Kingsguard? Because if you're going to be Kingsguard, you have to know what this like life is going to be. It's like a long thinking. You have to think about this for a long time.
With Bran, where it was like romanticized. It's like, well, I don't have any upward mobility really as a second son or third son or whatever. So I'm going to go become like a general or castellan, or I'm going to go get my own land because marriage or whatever, or I'm going to become a Kingsguard, which is this pie in the sky ideal where the actuality is you're standing around while Robert Baratheon bangs whores.
He also spent a year with Rhaenyra, because remember, from episode 3 to 4, it's been a year. So she'd been touring the entire countryside looking at suitors and all that. So he was with her for a whole year, and I'm sure they had like mini adventures. They spent time together. I'm sure at that point he fell in love with her secretly when he wasn't supposed to, and he still held on to his whole thing. But I would argue that he's more in love with her than he is with his vows, with his sense of honor.
I think he's in love with the idea of her.
Yeah, that too. Oh, we all are.
I mean, if he knew Rhaenyra's personality, he actually does know her personality as being a little fucked up, because he does make that joke about killing Jason Lannister, and they both think it's funny. So he does know her personality a little bit, but they definitely should have had a few more longing stares, a few lingering looks. You know, when you look at the resume on paper, it all makes sense. Like, they've spent a lot of time one-on-one together, but them getting to know each other is mostly off screen.
Let me counter that real quick. Let me counter that, because a friend of mine, she was watching this and she was like, what is up with guys? And this is her words, not mine. She goes, you men love to have like these small flings, but the one time a girl has a fling and it doesn't really mean that much, all of a sudden it's the end of the world. Yeah, she kind of has a point. In the Criston Cole, supposedly, allegedly, he says to Rhaenyra, run away with me to the free cities. You can be my wife. I will be the sellsword of a merchant prince. And it's like, bro, really? It's either she
does that basically in the show, right?
Yeah. That didn't happen. He didn't say that. He said, come to Essos with me. He never mentioned like the merchant prince thing. But it's like, my man, you're really going to ask this girl who's going to essentially be the president of the entire country to come be your stay-at-home mom, wife?
Yeah, it's that
like,
time.
My man.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, and please, what are you going to do with your dragon? Wish they would have mentioned that. And where am I going to park my dragon? Like,
We were actually talking about this before we started. Like, for a show called House of the Dragon, dragons don't get mentioned that much, and they don't appear that much.
Yeah, I was like, how did it take Viserys so long to realize he does need a Valyrian marriage? Because they have dragons.
I know.
It's so painful.
Really bad. It was pretty painful.
They actually have more dragons than the crown.
It's just like I just Lionel Strong sitting there being like, I have a great idea. Laenor Velaryon. What?
The richest family, and they have dragon. No. And they have the navy. No. That's I would. Why didn't I think of that? I was thinking like a Lannister because Castle Rock may not be ran out of gold. That may not be ran out of gold. That's a sentence.
I'm going to accuse them of not having dragons, but I'm going to not consider the family that has dragons.
Right. Oh god, it's so funny. There's sometimes you're just like.
What's funny is I actually think they're doing a better job than George's source material on the day-to-day things making sense and who's getting married at what time. Year to year, day to day, the politics actually make more sense than Fire and Blood. So like we can make jokes about certain things not making sense, but it makes more sense than Fire and Blood. So I'm going to come back and say, good job, Ryan Condal. Good job.
Well, we say good job right now, but
there's still the cast changeover. We don't know.
Oh my god.
We don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I saw a clip just now. It's been circulating on Twitter of Rhaenyra just gave birth to, I believe, her third child, and the adult Laenor comes in. It's adult Rhaenyra, blah blah blah. So far, I'm liking adult Laenor from the small clip I saw. But the first thing I wanted to talk about was the beginning, that Runestone scene with Daemon. That felt very rushed, and I find it funny that because I actually went to the behind the scenes thing because I wanted to know more about that scene. You guys agree with me? Like Daemon showed up to fucking kill her, but Ryan Condal and the director are like, well, we don't know what he showed up to do. We know it's in the air.
Well, he contradicts himself. Ryan Condal is kind of weird because he's like, I read the source material and I was like, oh yeah, Daemon definitely killed her. And I was like, that's what you got out of the source material? Daemon was fighting a war in the Stepstones at the time. She also is hawking and hunting, which means there's a big group of people. It also takes her 9 days to die. So, I mean, I'm not saying it's not possible that someone in her party was hired to do something and she didn't realize it, but had Daemon just shown up and killed her and then flown back, she would have told somebody. She wasn't alone. There's so many things that are just I think he even said he definitely killed her. I was like, okay, there's no death.
Well, I don't think they have the 9 days thing in the show. I think he just knocks her off the horse and then beats her head in with a rock, and then they find her with her head beaten in.
Yeah, but when you actually go play by play, the play by play doesn't really make much sense. Why did the horse go up at that moment? And then he pushes over the horse. He grabs her and pushes the horse over. And then it just hopes that she breaks her neck. She does. And then smashes her head in. It's very weird.
Very
why
convenient.
The horse went up at that moment. Yeah. Why did the horse go up at that moment and stuff like that?
You know what I find funny about that scene? I'm surprised you, of all people, Preston, did not ask. I'm sure you probably did, because I did. You didn't ask. Because she says, hello, husband, come to consummate the marriage. Since I'm not ruling, I'm sure some of the sheep would be. He made that comment about the sheep to 4 guys. Viserys was not going to say anything. I doubt the Grand Maester and Beesbury would, or even Lionel Strong. Otto clearly probably told her. He's
right.
Or it's just he makes that joke a lot.
The actress is actually very, even the character was very good looking. I don't know. I like what Ryan Condal said. It's it's not that she's ugly. It's just that she doesn't like him.
I have never heard Carmine talk more about a single woman in movies.
That's true.
As the actress. Dude, this woman has.
I'm with Carmine on this one.
No, she's beautiful. She's beautiful. But there's something beyond just her being beautiful. This woman, really tickles Carmine in every single
it's the
respect.
Slight curly hair with the tomboyishness.
No.
I feel you, big dog, on your woof woof.
I mean, there is something where it's just oh my, this one is he is head over heels.
That is no, it's not true. First off,
he is. You can feel him blushing. You can feel him blushing.
If there's any actress from Thrones that I'm really into, it's the chick who played Tyene Sand. Those are the nicest breasts in the entire series, all of Westeros combined.
Oh god, no! Who was it? Miranda with the hips.
Miranda up north. There was something about the way Miranda looked. The slightly evil.
She's so skinny. We can see those lips.
Yeah, but there's something with her slightly evil gaze and her smirk or something. There's something that's just that triggered me in a way, in a positive way, dark primal way. Yes. So this character, this actor has just really tapped into something deep and carnal with Carmine.
Speaking of deep and carnal, let's talk about Joffrey Lonmouth. So I like the whole wedding thing. The most of the wedding was fucking hilarious. I love Daemon and
right. By the way, the actor who was Jeffrey Lonmouth. Like, what a fantastic actor. The fact that, like, we got to know that character so quickly, felt we knew him. And then when he died, we're all like, oh God, no! Like, he had so little time to establish that character, make us like him, or at least, you know, make us want to see more of him. And when he died, I was like, no! I wanted more of. He was so interesting. But what a great performance.
Before we get to Joffrey Lonmouth, you watch my video, so you know what I'm about to say. And I spoke this with you about it briefly, so I'll also take it to Joker too. Did you guys notice how, because I was waiting for this the entire season, and we were at the midpoint, it has not happened once. No one in Westeros has at all commented or made a snide remark or like some kind of shit-eating grin towards the Velaryons, and were actually racist towards them. Because Westeros is a fairly bigoted society, but only to culture, not to skin tone, which I thought was super
right.
neat.
Well, didn't George like have a thing where he was talking about, or like slavery in Westeros was not about skin color, it was about where you were, whether you could be taken over, you know, what culture, what gods you believed in, stuff like that.
Yeah. So I think it's just that there's no history of racial slavery, so like you're not going to get that feeling or great technological differences between different groups and their skin colors.
But even without the slavery, like you still get like a sense of, because there's obviously more white people than like non-white people in Westeros. You like normally people would like be assholes about that whole thing and like have this like air of like snobby and superiority to them, but that never comes up once. We never get like a
have to wonder, I guess, if maybe it's the old Valyria stuff where they're related to basically what we attribute as gods on Earth. You know, they're still that line. So
right, and I do suppose. I mean, I think what Carmine is also hinting at is that taking away all of the history and socioeconomic aspects to race in America and history and all of that, just someone being a little different, people usually comment on it. So like if you're a redhead, there's fewer of you in this world. Now,
right,
it's
and
not
they
like
comment on that in the original Game of Thrones where it's like, oh, she's kissed by fire.
She's kissed by fire because George R. Martin has a fetish for redheads, but both of his wives were redheads. So he, but you'd think that, yeah, like I'm a really tall guy. So every day someone says to me, oh, hey, you're tall. Like that happens to me every day. And so you'd think that, you know, somebody would make some sort of comment at some point like, oh, you know, you're tan. But, you know, it just doesn't come up.
It doesn't. So, and props to the way they handled it, because I thought they handled it very well. Because I made this example in my review video, season 4, episode 1, the first appearance of Oberyn. The Lannister guards make somewhat of a racial kind of joke at him by saying, gods, why are you wasting this woman on a Dornishman? Bring him a shaved goat and a bottle of olive oil. Or when Sam brings home Gilly and Randall Tarley finds out that she's a wildling, he's like, oh, wildlings. So it's mostly, you know, aimed towards culture and not skin tone, which I you know, kind of breath of fresh air. It's kind of like new. Now they're racist, or not they're prejudiced, just not towards this one thing. Just another thing, which... Okay, but the Joffrey Lonmouth thing. In the stream, you said it's because he was a gay basher, that he does not like homosexuals. I have to disagree. And I'll tell you why. Because if Criston Cole has a history of beating up men who are specifically homosexual, okay. If he has a history of yelling out racial slurs, okay. I just think...
Yeah, we're going to need to see that on camera, though.
I'm going to need to see this on camera. I'm going to need to see the whole thing.
DMs.
You're like, just because I commit one hate crime doesn't mean I'm a bigot. Like, what? Is this the argument?
No, I think he was mad, and this was like, I know your secret, you know my secret, let's keep each other's secret, and like, you know, keep on keeping on, one paramour to another, and I think that's what made him snap.
Right, and shout out to my guy Shay on Discord. I put it in my review video, I'll put it here as well. He did it because Sir Joffrey was equating himself to Criston, and he sees himself as above their romantic tryst, not wanting to be regulated to Rhaenyra's whore. You see this sense of stubborn pride when he confesses to Alicent when he asks for a clean death. He either wants to be a virtuous Kingsguard or Rhaenyra's actual partner, not something in between, and Sir Joffrey's wheeling and dealing just made him snap. That's what I think it was. Also, Joffrey would have never pieced it together had this asshole just worn a helmet. He's the only... I know, but...
At the same time, he beats Joffrey's face so hard that Joffrey's nose falls off. It's the most disgusting beating, like complete collapse of a face. And so you kind of say, well, well, whoa. Like, what anger problems do you have, and what are they related to? If you're beating on someone that much.
So what you're saying is it has to go. There has to be something else deeper in there other than he's pissed about Rhaenyra.
Right. I mean, all of us have been dumped. All of us have ever our hearts broken. Maybe not all of everybody in the audience, but at least, the three of us talking, we've all had our hearts broken. We've all been dumped. We know what that pain feels like. I've never had the rage to want to keep beating a human being to death, and then after they're dead, to continue to beat them until their skull collapses and their nose falls off. That's freaking bonkers.
Okay, you gotta remember, like, this is also like in the Seven Kingdoms. It's like, okay, I made these vows before the Seven to become this Kingsguard, and I betrayed that, and I betrayed everything I was, but I thought I could make it right by running off to Essos, and I got told no then, and now I'm what? What am I? What is my life? My life is a lie. I could see that kind of snapping a person who's never had to deal with that sort of problem.
It's also, and I was telling this to Preston, it's also, my man here clearly does not know how to deal with his emotions. And this is a problem with a lot of men, even in our time right now. Guys just don't know how to, like, handle how they're feeling, and there's no Westerosi version of therapy. I don't think that's on the Kingsguard health plan.
No, it's be a man.
Yeah, be a man, rub some dirt on it.
Slap you.
I just don't think, I see where you're coming from, and we'll see. I think it would have been better had they just done what it was in the books, which I'm surprised they didn't do this, because Ryan Cottle has been sticking to the books fairly well.
Budget.
Yeah, I know.
They couldn't do another tourney.
For the audience who doesn't know this, in the books, Criston Cole does beat up Joffrey Lonmouth, but it's in a tournament where it's legal. I think it's budget, and it's also, they wanted to do a wedding, and they wanted to keep the Game of Thrones tradition of having a crazy wedding.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I think in the inside the episode, they were talking about comparing it to the Red Wedding or something.
You can't compare this to the Red Wedding. No one can ever compare it.
Somebody got killed at a wedding. I guess that's the Red Wedding.
It was more crass and explicit, but yeah, I think the killing of Talisa and the slitting of Catelyn's throat, is conceptually just harsher, but like having to look at Joffrey Lonmouth's face is pretty harsh. So,
yeah, and then he basically has to get shotgun married, like not 50 feet away from the body.
Right. No one's cleaning up. Why didn't they go to the Sept?
Right?
Why didn't they go to...
They were like, we're just going to do it in the dining room next to the body.
Next to a pool of blood, rather than just like going down the street to the Sept that doesn't have blood and rats.
Or even like the gods would, if you still had to stay in the castle and use assets that they already have.
I mean, is there someone committing suicide out there? Because, Godswood is occupied. Sorry, guys. Oh, we're going to use the god... Oh, okay.
Well, at least he was going to do it in front of the Weirwood, which is really weird for people who worship the Seven, but details.
Well, you forget that he's a Dornish knight from the Stormlands, and everyone knows that the Dornish knights from the Stormlands worship the old gods. So yes,
There we go. That's funny.
But I would say probably one of my favorite moments of the episode, besides us getting to see Driftmark and, Corlys's collections, which I thought was pretty cool. Alicent's green dress. Someone was making fun of you in my comment section, Preston, that you have a problem with the green dress. You don't have a problem with the
no, I mean, are you talking like, would anyone actually wear that in the Middle Ages? Never. But this is like Marjorie. This is like Marjorie's dresses, but this isn't the Middle Ages. This is a fantasy story. So like the dress is awesome. Like it's like, I thought Marjorie's dresses were awesome. A lot of people were like, no one in Westeros would ever wear that. It's like true, but those are still, it's like, it's an awesome dress. Moment, yeah. It's a great moment. It's a great dress. It's very pretty. No woman realistically in Westeros would ever wear a dress like that. No woman in the Middle Ages would ever wear a dress like that. This is a sexually repressed society. But it's fine. It's a great dress.
So what you're saying is, like the fires she was lighting, the dress was hot?
It's a hot dress. It's a beautiful dress. Yeah, definitely.
That was a bad joke, Carmine. You can say something.
Yeah. By the way, Alicent was on the fucking dais. There's no way she could vouch for Criston now, unless like she's like telling the rest of the Hightower family who might be in the crowd to like vouch. Oh, I, Phil Hightower, also heard Joffrey Lonmouth threaten Criston Cole. I, Abe Hightower, also heard it, but like, Alicent herself can't do it.
This is bullshit. So we need at least one final episode as the fallout of what the fuck happened, because now we're just just leaving it as a cliffhanger, kind of.
Yeah, apparently Elia and Linda have seen episode 6 and they said there's no explanation.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
Elia and Linda, no.
He just gets away with murder.
He just gets away with it and they never talk about it again.
So, okay, someone was like, Carmine, haven't you read the books? Don't you know the Kingsguard can kind of do whatever they want? Well,
No,
they're
get
representing
what?
the crown.
What about Luca more strong as gelded? What do you like for breaking his Kingsguard vows?
No,
and just
no.
doing random shit.
The person was talking about like beating up Joffrey Lonmouth. Well, Joffrey Lonmouth is a sworn sword to the king consort. So
Yeah. Also, he punched the new prince in the face twice, I think. That part probably harder to accept than even Joffrey Lonmouth, a highborn person, getting beaten.
Yeah, because he'd lose the hand.
He also put Rhaenyra, the heir to the Iron Throne, in danger by causing almost trampled to death by causing this like big commotion
and not protecting her when she's his sworn sword and a member of the Night's Watch had to freaking run in, and there was a lot of time. The fact that like somebody else had to go, hey,
how about the
Harwin,
strong family coordination on that?
Yeah, like how is the strong family coordination so much better than the fucking Kingsguard with regards to security? The fact that like Lionel the Hand has to be like, dude, go get her, and that he has time to go all the way down, grab her, and bring her all the way back. Like, come on.
He's knocking out dudes on the He's knocking out like random wedding guests and Valerian soldiers.
How is the strong family the least messed up?
I don't know. I don't know.
They're like actually functional.
Right? They actually seem like they like each other as a loving family. Like Lionel's really smart. He's the only one that seems to realize like the political situation. Like they
Then you have Lares, who's like weird. His motivations do not make sense at all at any time.
Sure.
But then you're like, what if those aren't what we're supposed to be looking at?
Right. I mean, we may get a reveal later that the Strongs are the real manipulators of everything. But
well, I saw the preview for episode 6, and of course they're gonna do like the whole thing where Rhaenyra's kids have the dark hair. Okay, fine.
Yeah. So that was a little more ambiguous in the books because it was like, well, it could be either or, right? But in this, it's like, no, there's no mistaking.
Well, we don't know what's gonna happen, of course. The problem I have is that if you're gonna say it's Harwin Strong's kids, fine. But Rhaenyra has, as far as we've seen, has had only one interaction or two, maybe one, maybe two. No, one. Rhaenyra has only had one interaction with Harwin Strong throughout the whole series. It's that one time in episode 4, she ran into him when Daemon was chasing her in the streets of Silk. Mm-hmm. He runs into her and they share like one line and that's it. And all of a sudden, I guess it's him?
Well, I do hope there's a lot of ambiguity. Let's keep in mind that, one, they might be Rhaenyra. I think here we've eliminated the possibility that they're Cristons. I mean, I guess that depends on the birthday. The eldest might still be Cristons. We don't kind of know when the wedding happened. Was the wedding like a week later? Was it like 2 weeks later? Like, was it the next day? Like, how much time passed between everybody returning?
Well, how long would it take to sail to Driftmark?
2 days? Like 1 day? I think in the show, 1 day.
Well, there you go.
But then, like, the next day they're having a wedding. I mean, planning of weddings. So then again, like, Rhaenys flew with them. Would you really have Rhaenys fly and hang out for weeks, when her home is Driftmark? I don't know. But, so I suppose it's still possible that Criston Cole is the father of Jace, the eldest, because if they slept on the boat or something or whatever. They had sex again on the trip to Driftmark or something. But the younger kids, I mean, keep in mind, maybe Harwin Strong or some other random dude, right? That's the other thing that no one ever thinks about. Some other random dude might be besides Rhaenyra, besides Criston, and besides Harwin, it could just be anybody else. Right?
The Lannisters, it's actually me. You thought I was just a comic relief character, but it was I, Daddy.
Yeah. This gets back into like the ridiculousness of what I say in the original game, A Game of Thrones, like Ned piecing together that Cersei was having sex with Jaime is ridiculous. Because okay, maybe he through his research he can eliminate Robert as the father, but you're not establishing Jaime as the father. Cersei could have had sex with anybody else. He only established that Baratheons, when married to Lannisters, produce black-haired children. So that means Cersei could have had sex with anybody else and had a kid. For instance, Lancel.
Well, that's still even just
anybody.
A huge leap in logic for me. It's like, Ned, you're brown haired and half your kids are redheads. Come on, dude. Like, really?
Right. It's a ridiculous plot hole of a Game of Thrones. But there's no reason to think it's Harwin. There's none. In the books, he had a broken collarbone during the conception period of Jace. So, like, even if we're going to say that they're not Laenors, we have nothing to say that they're Harwins. But they may just be like, they're Harwins. So, who knows? Funny, though, is based on that, a lot of those initial reviews that I read of House of the Dragon were actually mixed. And now I'm kind of seeing it because the first 4 episodes, everybody thinks are really strong, but they all kind of comment that the time skips are really jarring and they felt kind of soured that there was violence just for the sake of violence. And this is now sounding like episodes 5 and 6, you know, like violence for the sake of violence.
Well, we're supposed to have, obviously, the big time skip from 5 to 6. There's supposed to be one more time skip. The reason I say that is because Aemon, he actually has 2 actors. We're going to see the young Aemon in this episode 6, and then we're going to see the older one, the Chin Man, the Chin Master, in another one, where he has the eye patch.
Good times.
Am I the only one who thinks that the Viserys sickness plot this is definitely just done in the how viewers are viewing it, so it's like episode to episode he's getting worse, and that makes sense if there wasn't time skips, but because we're like, oh man, he like fell down at the wedding, he's so sick. 10 years later he's still around. It's fine.
Absolutely.
Don't worry about it.
When you think about how sick he was in episodes 4 and 5, there's hardly any time skip, and he looks considerably worse in episode 5 than episode 4. And then we're going to skip 10 years and he's still alive. Like he's like at death's door right now.
Yeah.
Somehow he's going to make it. But yes, absolutely.
So Maester Conspiracy, not Maester Conspiracy, just killing him enough to see what happens, just keeping him alive. Maybe that's what it is. They're keeping him alive so that he'll change the heir, and then once he does, then they kill him. That's the Maester Conspiracy.
I guess there's that hope, but we know he never changes the heir. In the source material. So
before we sign off on this, I found it fucking weird how Daemon's there.
God, Daemon made no sense. Like he just banished you like last week. There's no way you're invited to this wedding.
Did you see the meme about Garfield where Garfield you saw it, right? Garfield is like there's in the Garfield cartoon, Garfield sees a poster with his face on it with like, you know, not allowed in, and Garfield's like, I wonder who's that's for. That's Daemon. They're like, yeah, Daemon and King's Landing. I wonder who's this is for.
Right, like how does he make it like logistically? I just want to know how this is possible, because like, isn't he going to park his dragon at the dragon pit?
Yeah, so he's got to park his dragon at the dragon pit, make his way all the way through King's Landing, and nobody's saying anything yet.
Well, who's going to say anything? He owns the gold cloak.
Okay, fine. The gold cloak's but then how does he get into the castle?
The hidden passages.
Oh, right, he's got the secret passages. Fuck, he's got the secret...
Okay. But then he walks in, brazen as you will. Everybody's just like, oh, that Daemon, clap, laugh track.
That's essentially it. I just found it fucking hilarious that Gerald Royce accuses Daemon of murder at the banquet, and then Laena Velaryon hears this and she's like, let me get some of that. Like, girl, you just heard that he's accused of murdering his last wife. What do you mean? They mentioned Jane Eyre. I wonder if we're actually going to see Jane Eyre, because Jane Eyre banishes Daemon from the Vale. Like, he's unwelcome. So she essentially...
Oh, yeah, we'll probably get the TLDR when we do the 10-year time skip and he's with Laena. Mm-hmm. And it's like... Because we see her kids as well.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a juxtaposition against Rhaenyra's. So you have, here's what a Targaryen with a Valyrian's kids should look like. And then here's Jace and all of them. That's kind of...
Yeah.
But they'll probably do I was kicked out of the Vale, so here we are.
I feel like they introduced the cousin just because he's going to be leading armies during the Dance of the Dragons. We got our Vale guy, we got our Stormlands guy, we've got our Westerlands guy, we have our Reach guy, because we've got the Old Town. We're going to ignore that the Tyrells even exist. But yeah, it's just gonna, and then eventually they're going to introduce the Starks, but that's it. Do we even have a Riverlands guy? We don't have a
Who's in charge of the Riverlands right now? Is it Elmo Tully or is it...
I think it's I think it's
Tully,
something like Big
that?
Bird. Big Bird. It's Big Bird Tully, I think is...
By the way, for the audience who doesn't know what we're talking
Tully.
about, George actually named some of the River Lords, the Tully, House Tully, after Sesame Street characters. There is an actual Elmo Tully, and I think what was the other one? Bert Tully?
Oh, God. I didn't know that.
Yeah, you didn't know that.
Hilarious.
I swear to God, that's a thing.
Yeah.
Let me look it up real quick.
No, so I looked it up. It's Abby Kadabi Tully.
You're lying. You're a liar.
No, it's not Abby Kadabi.
It's okay. It's Grover Tully. Grover Tully. And then you have Elmo. And then you have
Kermit Nosker.
He's not kidding this time. It's actually Kermit and Oscar Tully. There's no joke here.
Yeah.
So it's Grover,
Grover, Elmo,
awesome.
Kermit, Oscar.
it's Grover, and then his grandson is Elmo Tully, and then Elmo Tully's sons are Kermit and Oscar Tully. So that's an actual fucking thing. Oh god. Oh my god. Anyways, so yeah, that's that was episode 5. I think we should have had one more episode in the past. We needed to see the fallout of this situation. Them brushing over it, it's gonna annoy the fuck out of me.
Well, there's scenes that were in promotional material, which just may be promotional material scenes that we haven't seen of stuff in the past, so there's still maybe flashbacks.
I noticed that too. So
Like, yeah, they cut Alicent's wedding.
they cut Alicent's wedding, yeah. And it might be like a Star Wars Rogue One situation, because in the Rogue One trailers, you see like multiple shots of like Jyn, and you know, she's a TIE fighter like flies right in front of her. It was never in the movie. It might just be for trailer purposes only, or maybe deleted scenes.
Was that the name of that character in Rogue One? Because that movie I completely
Jyn Erso, yeah.
Right.
You better not forget that character, because Andor comes on in a couple of hours, Press. The first 3 episodes.
Okay.
You ready for the first 3 episodes of Andor?
Absolutely not.
Can't wait.
He's I can hear the excitement in his voice.
I don't, because I know he's tired. You ever hear of Sauron? We gotta fucking do some more Rings of
God.
Power, Preston. You ever hear of Sauron, lad? You ever heard of him? But yeah, I thought the episode was decent. I liked most of it. It's just there's some weird decisions, and I think episode 6.
I loved Laurie Strong Alicent scenes. Man, Laurie Strong is so good.
Joker, did you notice something about the Laris Alicent scene? Something familiar?
Oh yeah, Lemongate confirmed.
How many people annoyed you were like, Preston, really? Come on now. How many comments like that did you get?
A few. So Glitus did a poll about it, and so I was like, because when people are posting like, dude, you're totally like reaching. So he did a poll, and roughly 2/3 of people think that yes, it's a reference to Lemongate, and 1/3 do not. Also, people just fill out polls when they don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah,
anyway,
in your comment section, everyone's like, "What's Lemongate?" And it's like, really? How do you not?
How did you come to Preston Jacobs' channel and not know about Lemongate?
I'm sure there's gonna be some comments on this video as well. Basically, too long didn't read. Lemon trees don't grow in Bravos, and Dany may be an imposter. Is that the gist of it, Preston?
Pretty much, yeah.
I like the Dany may be an imposter.
Daenerys may be an imposter, so she's not a true Targaryen. She might be what, a Blackfire?
She might be a dragon seed.
Or a dragon
Yeah.
seed, right.
Yeah.
For people who don't know, dragon seeds will probably be introduced season 2, and I think that what's going to be very jarring is that episode 6 is going to introduce a whole host of characters. I think 6. So we're going to have all of Rhaenyra's children, and then all of Alicent's children. They're going to mention Daron, who I think is I think Dragon Man told me from the leaks, Daron, one of Alicent's other kids, is an apprentice in Old Town, and he's going to be there for the whole season. So Alicent has Aegon, Helena, which we saw as a baby, and Aemond, Daron, and I feel like there's one more.
Alicent has 4 kids.
So, okay.
So it's Aegon, Helena, Aemond, and Daron.
Okay, never mind. I got them all. So we're going to have...
You're thinking, because eventually Helena has some kids, so
That's
people confuse that, you know, the next line, the Jaehaerys, Maegor kind of children. So
that's right. So we're gonna get like technically 6 characters introduced, and then Rhaenyra has like 3 kids. So in this one, in episode 6, we'll see 2 of them fully grown, or not fully, but fairly grown, and then she'll have a baby in episode 6. So that's her 3rd kid, and then she's supposed to have 2 more kids, which will be Aegon, another Aegon, which is gonna be fucking confusing, and then a Viserys.
Oh god, yeah.
and some stillbirths and stuff.
Some
But yeah. But Rhaenyra's got 5 kids that we are going to care about. Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's a lot of kids. I wonder if they're going to condense any of them.
Please. Oh, God, please. I don't think you can condense Aegon and Viserys because they both become kings eventually. So...
Yeah. Well... Yeah, and Aegon, and Viserys all become king. Aemond, you know, rides a dragon. We can't do anything about that. He's pretty important. And then Luke, Jason, Joffrey all ride dragons. So it's really hard to cut these dragon riders.
And that's not all. By the way, so that's like 6 to 7 characters. We're not even talking about Daemon's kids with Laena. Oh my God. So
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, he's got 2 daughters with Laena. Yeah,
this is where the confusion will set in, because I think almost every single actor, with the exception of the actors already adults in episode 1, have like 2 to 3 sets of actresses. So there's young Laenor, there's teenage Laenor, played by the kid named Theo was in this episode. And then I think adult Laenor is played by another guy. Same with Laena. You have little Laena, and then you have teenager Laena, which was in this episode, and then adult Laena, I think, is played by someone else. And then you have baby Aegon, kid Aegon, which is going to appear in episode 6, and then you have a somewhat adult Aegon, and then same with Aegon. Like, this is going to confuse a lot of people.
So what you're saying, Carmine, is the show is about to fall fucking apart. Is this what you're saying?
Sounds like it, honestly.
Is that we're going to do a massive time jump, and then another massive time jump with a bazillion actors and a bazillion characters and 2 bazillion actors.
Oh god,
confusing everybody. Is this what you're saying?
I just like
they need like a primer, like mandatory watching between seasons where it's like, okay, sit down, now time for your Targaryen lineage lessons. And they just go through who's who.
Can't wait for that blood flow at the beginning in the opening crawl to like change and show me a bunch of seals that don't have names.
Right.
And be like, oh yes, they changed the beginning. And now I see blood.
So here's going to be the cold open for season 2. I've already said it. You have the blood and cheese stuff, but instead of taking place in some random room, it's in the room with the model, and the blood sprays all over the model, and it drips down
and
like the intro.
Down the bomb.
I can actually see that happening.
Oh god. Oh.
And then Chad Summerchild's going to be like, dude, that was the coolest thing ever.
Slid down.
Wouldn't it be fucking hilarious that House of the Dragon, so far it's had rave reviews, the mid-season flips and it starts getting bad, and then Rings of Power all of a sudden starts getting very good? That would be hilarious. All the grifters wouldn't know what to do with themselves. Holy shit.
That would be funny.
Joker, have you seen Rings of Power yet?
No, I'm kind of waiting for it all to
Good move.
come out.
My mother watched it and she's like, elves are really boring, except for the black one.
I was telling Preston
Go Preston's mom or something.
I was telling Preston how like that's kind of the move right there. I know a few people doing the same thing, because what I feel as though it was shot as like one giant movie, but then split into episodes. So
I feel like that's most of the Disney Plus stuff too. It's like, this is just better to consume as like a 4-hour movie, 6-hour movie, whatever, instead of like, okay, week to week.
Yeah, I've held you guys on for too long. You guys mind if we wrap it up here?
Oh, go for it.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Joker, for joining me and Preston. We always try to, expand out and get more people. Hopefully you can come back.
Anything I can do to derail the conversation.
Hopefully you can come back for a future episode review. And guys, thank you so much for joining us. As always, we'll see you next time. Have a good one.
Baba Booey.